Oh, yeah, ne? You are loud and clear now. I think we'll start with Inkosi now. ILM. Actually, ILM.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Let me greet the national leadership, provincial leadership, the district leaders, and the local leaders of Alfred, Duma, as well as Okahlamba, all officials. Good evening, all. Honorable Chairperson, my name is Jabulile Mbele. I am deployed as the mayor of Inkosi Langalibalele. Chair, may I start by apologizing for the first session that I logged in a bit late. My apologies.
Okay.
Yes, Chair.
And you are proactive before you are being asked where were you.
And I also like to request, Chair, that the correction on my initials be done. I am JM, not JB. And my surname is Mbele, not Mbili. I saw that on the clipboard. Chairperson,
you saw it where?
On the clipboard, in the during the morning session. It was written. Yes, it was written that JB Mbili. Inkosi Langalibalele.
Who did that? Because you are responsible for naming your gadget. Who did that for you?
I'm not quite too sure, Honorable Chair, because I came a bit late, so I'm not quite too sure as to who. But I beg your pardon?
Where were you watching from? From this participant list, you were written JB.
Yeah, it was during the presentation of SALGA. Then there was this clipboard aside on the left-hand side. Then I saw it there.
Where it has got names of people?
Not all of them, Chair.
It was only your name?
And a couple of councillors, if I'm not mistaken.
So then it's SALGA who has written your name wrongly then.
Okay, no problem, Chair. Thank you so much for assisting me on that one. Chair, during the discussions, I think Inkosi Langalibalele had approximately 4 or 5 questions. Chairperson, I'm going to respond to them all. Then I'll allow our municipal manager to put more flesh as where there is a need. The first question was about the unfunded budget, as to why we continuously adopted the unfunded budget. Chairperson, may I remind the sitting that it was said on the presentation that the Inkosi Langalibalele received unfunded budget as from resulted in the historical background of former Umjezi, which was starting from 2012-2013 financial year. So when we came in, already the unfunded budget ran for 4 years. But Honorable Chairperson, I also like to share with the sitting that we are having the cost containment policy in the municipality so as to assist ourselves as the council to cope with all the crisis of the municipality. And for this one of the unfunded budget, Honorable Chair, I must say that we went an extra mile as the councillors, because all the full-time councillors, I'm talking about the mayor, the deputy mayor in his absentia, the speaker, the chief whip of the council, as well as the MPEC, all were full-time, but now we are part-time. We are trying by our level best. We are trying our level best to cap the unfunded budget. Honorable Chair, I must say that we were also instructed by the Honorable MEC of Cogta in the province, Mr. Shomoga, that we must fund the budget no matter the circumstances can be. So that is the reasons we tried our level best to fund the budget. And the reports from the Provincial Treasury.
Major, my mayor.
Yes.
You see, you have been correcting your names and all the such of kinds of things, but we are not so sure whether it's you who's presenting. In essence, I'm trying to say we want to see you. Maybe we are speaking to a ghost, we don't know.
No, I'm alive.
You are alive. Proceed, and you must stay alive like that. The parliamentary channels has asked us to all put our videos on as we speak. Okay, proceed. Sure.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Chairperson, I was informing the sitting about us being part-time now, trying to cap with the funding of the budget. And the reports now are much better from the Provincial Treasury. The second question was about the incurring of UIFW. So, Chair, in this one, it is mainly caused by the interest charges of the late payment. For example, when we were paying Eskom, Telkom, and other debts, then we were paying late. So the most of the incurred UIFW was resulting from this. So, Chairperson, the other one was about, we have to account in this sitting as to why we were receiving the adverse. Our audit opinion was not good since 2016-17. 16-17, we received the disclaimer with a very long list of issues from the AG. Then 2017-18, it was an adverse with a very long list as well. Then in 2018-19, then we received an adverse with a reasonable list of issues. This, I think this is why, Honorable Chair, we were reporting that all the issues that the AG needed from our officials, we are able to give them timelessly. Chairperson, the other question was about the aging infrastructure of Inkosi Langalibalele. Yes, Chair, we are having the old infrastructure such as roads, electric infrastructure, as well as our robots. This is the reason why I am going to ask this sitting, the national and the province, to assist Inkosi Langalibalele to rebuild its infrastructure. We are having two towns, that is Escort and Winen. And so both these towns are not in a good stage in terms of old or the aging infrastructure. For us as Inkosi Langalibalele, it's no longer, it's no more the issue of the potholes, but it is the issue of the old roads. So we need the assistance on that one, as the municipality won't be able to carry this duty alone. That is why we are requesting the assistance for grants from the province as well as our national. Then maybe let me go back, as the fifth question was about the irregular expenditure. Let me go back a bit, informing the sitting that all the UIF, including the irregular expenditure, we referred that as the council, we referred that to MPEC for investigation, as well as the internal audit committee, of which they report quarterly in the council. So with these responses, Honorable Chair, will you please allow me to introduce Mr. Mkhize, our municipal manager, to continue where I left, or to put flesh on my responses. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, MM. We've been given a leeway to add more flesh by the boss.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Good evening to
We
honorable
want
members.
to see you, MM. Are you a pastor? MM,
Honorable Chair.
what does PS stands for? Or PS is initials?
Sorry, Honorable Chair.
Oh.
It stands for Patrick Sibusiso.
Okay.
Yes.
Can
thank
you
you, Honorable.
occupy the screen fully? We can't see your head. We're not so sure it's you.
Hey. Is introduced.
That's better.
Okay.
Yes.
Honorable Chair, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, honorable mayors, colleagues, good evening. Chair, I will just add maybe some more flesh to the responses made by my honorable mayor. In terms of the unfunded budget, Chair, I think the honorable mayor has related the historical fact that this has been the case, especially with Umchezi since 2011 and 2012 financial year. And that has been carried on, unfortunately. So when the current administration came in, it inherited this unfortunate situation. And again, that situation, it is also aggravated by the fact that, as you clearly said in your opening remarks in the morning, that when two municipalities merge and one is financially handicapped and the other one is viable, the effects are going to be seen in the new municipality. Unfortunately, the municipality in this case, which had financial difficulties, was the bigger municipality, which is the former Umchezi municipality. Now, coming back to the question, Chair, the existence of a lot of creditors not paid by the municipality, exacerbated by a negative audit outcome, made it difficult for the current officials to work out and come out with a credible working capital. Now, this situation will only end once the municipality has been able to cut down on creditors and is also able to receive a positive audit of opinion, and of which we are hopeful that this is going to happen. Now, in that case, we'll be having credible closing balances, which will then enable us to have correct opening balances. I hope that maybe if I left something, our CFO, Mr. Hadebe, will then add in these things. Honorable Cesar also asked the question on irregular expenditure. I will just touch on all of it, starting with the irregular expenditure. Now, when you look at our submission, the bulk of the unauthorized expenditure was caused by overspent votes. Now, how did this happen? The overspending of votes has a direct link to the unfunded budget, wherein we are always forced to cut on the budget that we submit to the provincial treasury, which then would force us to cut on the votes. But along the way or during the financial year, no matter how much we implement the cost containment measures, as my honorable mayor has alluded, one where our principals were forced to become part-time, which also came with huge salary cuts from their part. And now the problem is the reality on the ground. The demands of the community will always lead us to overspending. Now, for an example, we've got an old plant. Having an old plant simply means that we are going to be fixing always. So that's where some of the money is being spent. Now, our infrastructure also, as one of the questions stated, which is true, it is old, and also this is causing us to overspend on some of the votes. And now, the huge bulk of the irregular spending, Chair, is also historical in the sense that the committees that were formulated since the financial year 2011-2012. Ironically, that is the financial year where the former Umjezi municipality received a clean audit. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at the SM regulations from section 27 to 29, which guides us in terms of how do we form these committees, the manner in which those committees were formed, it was irregular. And again, Chair, so this would mean that all those appointments that were made during that time, some of which included the multi-year projects, all of them were deemed as irregular. So this huge amount, it then starts from that period up to the period where we started correcting this, that is from 2017-2018. And we can assure you that now our committees are formulated in a manner that is consistent with the regulation. You will find that, Chair, during the current assessment that is being done by the AG, most of our communication of finding, it comes from that period. Chair, this municipality has had a higher rate of creditors and debtors. Now, one of them, as it has been pointed out earlier in the morning, was ESCOM. Now, when you have these creditors and you are having a problem in the cash flow, that will always mean that you are not paying in time or you are not paying at all. So most of this fruitless expenditure, it then comes from the penalties in the form of the interest that is charged by paying late. It also came because of the litigation that the municipality found itself in. In fact, in one case, the municipal account was at the brink of being attached by one service provider. We survived this one because of the help of Cogta and our attorneys. So all of these have to be declared as a fruitless and wasteful expenditure. I can then assure you, Chair, that the UIFW was thoroughly investigated, except for the balances as they are seen in our presentation. And since it's something that is a multi-year thing, it was not easy for the current MPEC and our internal audit to investigate everything at once. Now, currently, Chair, I want to assure the committee that we have put controls to deal with UIFW in the sense that we have lawfully constituted the bid committees. Our grants are cash backed. They are no longer used to pay for other things other than what they were approved for. We have paid our creditors, starting from as back as 2016.
Can I plead with you? Can you take a leg stretch for 10 minutes? I need to quickly go back to the house and the other members to vote me. 10 minutes, please. It's 1925. We shall reconnect at 1914. Please,
Chair.
my apologies. We didn't anticipate this. I need to quickly go back to the house as well, and the other members. Sure.
Noted.
Good evening, everybody. Please note that the voting is taking longer than expected. So if you can bear with us for another few minutes, members will be back shortly. Thank you.
Noted.
The voting session is now closed. Any abstentions? We have 40 noes and 256 ayes. So that says the report has been agreed to.
Colleagues, we are back. We are back. Our apologies. Our apologies for what just. Members are also coming back one by one. We'll be starting soon. I see Honorable Kalipi is here. Honorable Kavanchava is here. Honorable Direko is here. Did I miss? Yes, we can proceed. Can I hand over back to you, MM of ILM?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I think we left when one was looking at the UIFW. I explained why we incurred that UIFW. I was unpacking the control measures that we have done to make sure that it doesn't happen or we minimize it, starting with the formulation of the bid committees correctly. And I also alluded to the fact that our grants are now cash backed. We are using them correctly for what they were approved for. And I also alluded to the fact that we have paid our creditors, of which one of them has been reported upon, which is ESCOM. In fact, in our yesterday's report, from that 138 million, we are left with 1.2. And I also alluded to the fact that we have started a robust and vigorous revenue collection drive with the assistance of our current administrator. And this has assisted us to pay creditors. We are now trying by all means to comply with the legislation that demands that we pay within 30 days. And again, Cogta has also assisted us in terms of getting the outstanding payments from the government debt, that is the departments. Although they still owe us around 60 million, but it's better than paying for. And also, Chair, we are currently ensuring that we avoid fruitless expenditure by paying in time. As I said earlier on, that the bulk of the fruitless expenditure comes from paying late. And then given the hard work and the commitment and the assistance in terms of the resources that have been deployed by Cogta to this municipality, Chair, we are hopeful that we're going to get a better AG opinion. Chair, lastly, with regard to the aging infrastructure and what we are going to do about that, as a municipality, we are mindful of that, which is why, with the help of DBSA, we started. We got the funding where we developed a roads infrastructure and stormwater master plan, which has got details of our roads, both rural and urban. It also gives us the state of our roads and also the estimation in terms of how much can we expect to use when we are trying to upgrade that. But Chair, as we said, we are the municipality that has been plagued by cash flow challenges. We've been unable even to budget 8% as required by National Treasury for the maintenance of the infrastructure that we have. Instead, we've been able to only budget 2%. Now, we have since submitted a number of business plans to various departments to try and get funds to fix our infrastructure, because with the aging infrastructure, it means that we are paying more. For an example, in electricity, we've got more electricity cuts, especially when there are storms. This area is prone to a number of storms. So we've got a problem whereby we find that our communities, they are constantly on the dark because of that. Chair, let me stop there. I thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, MM. Mayor, are the questions adequately responded to, or there's something that you want to add on?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I think we addressed all the questions properly. Thank you so much.
Colleagues, is there anyone of you who want to make follow-ups on the responses as your questions were responded to? It's on ILANG, ILM. I've noted the hand of Honorable Muncipality. Who else wants to come?
Chair, is it Uthukela?
No,
District.
it's Ilang. It's
Oh,
Ilang.
no. Okay, sorry.
Inkosi. Okay. We're still with ILM. Can I allow Honorable Muncipality to do the follow-up questions?
Okay, Chair, thanks very much, Chairperson. I'm not sure because some of the issues that I raised before we adjourned in the morning, if both the mayor and the MM have responded to it, because I raised the issue of what was raised in the AG's report regards the fruitless and wasteful expenditure. And I'm sure the chair was also having some more on that one as well. So the chairperson will forgive me if they did respond, especially when I wanted to know why the AG is saying that the fruitless and wasteful expenditure, the municipality does not have steps to be taken to prevent unauthorized expenditure as required by section 62, subsection 1, subsection A of MFMA. So that was my main question, why they are failing to put controls, because we can't continue having similar situation each and every year. That was the question last time. But now, Chairperson, I just wanted to check something on their presentation, their own presentation, Chairperson. They are telling this committee that 39 million from 2010, if I'm not mistaken, that there is an audit action plan that is always developed every year to deal with such issues that are being raised by the AG or MPEG, etc., etc. But they are telling us on their own reports, Chairperson, that there is this 39 million that they are going to do a submission to the council to be written off. So now, I want to understand the details of the submission, not to say that they must tell us now in terms of the details, but it can be this committee does not just agree on the written off of any debt, because we know very well that it must be reasons. Even yesterday, Chairperson, you'll remember when we were engaging with Free State, we asked them the same question. And they must know that this committee who's doing their oversight here is not that you are going to hide behind a specific law that protects you to go and submit to the council. Once you obtain a council resolution, the debt will be written off. You need to convince us, because with one reason, Chairperson, for one reason only, I think Chair Okahlamba Mdagane is very disruptive into the meeting. So they must convince this committee. Why do they have to go and ask?
Can we plead with Karin Mdakana to mute his or her microphone? This is very disruptive, honestly.
And the last one, Chair, on their own reports, when they were reporting on the institutional capacity as the municipality, the GM for Public Works and Basic Services resigned, and there is that vacancy. And also the GM on Planning and Development was a vacancy since 2017. And I also want to think that some of the issues that we raised before in other municipalities, it's also going to talk to them. It's going to also to affect them, especially if they don't have a GM that is responsible for planning and development. We don't want a situation whereby they are going to come back to us and tell us that no, this aging infrastructure that the mayor was talking about is an old infrastructure. Yes, it's an old infrastructure because we inherited from apartheid, even from colonialism. But it does not mean that 27 years in democracy, we can't produce our own planning in the municipalities. So therefore, this GM or this vacancy is very important in the municipality. Maybe they can share with us why this vacancy since 2017. It has been very long and it's going to affect the municipality very, very bad. One understands, Chairperson, that one of the reasons why they have this UIFW to the tune of 289 million is because of the merger, but it does not just give them just a leeway for the committee to understand. They must come and also account here. Okay, there was a merger and you also inherited some of the debts from the previous municipality before it becomes Inkosi Langalibalele. So how are you going to address it? What are the plans that are in place to address this debt of 289 million? Thank you very much, Chairperson. If I can just stop on that one. Thanks.
Yes, Mayor and the team.
Thank you, Honorable
you.
Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. As for the resignation of the GM Civil as well as the vacancy on planning and development departments, we are in the process of filling both vacancies. And let me give the municipal manager to elaborate on the 39 million that need to be written off and the other questions. Thank you so much.
Municipal Manager.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, maybe let me start, although I think we have addressed the issue of UIFW and the control measures that we have put in place. What is left there is the balance that has not been investigated yet. Our MPEC had to look at the years starting far back. So it's been a huge work that has been undertaken. So the only balance is what is seen on papers. And as we speak, they are still busy investigating that. And then they will then inform council in terms of what needs to be done. Chair, 39 million, it's receivables that comes from the 2016-2017. That is the amount that the municipality was owed. Now, for us to be able to determine, we need a documentation that is going to assist us in trying to go and trace that debt. Now, during the merger, I think one alluded to the fact that one of the challenges that we have been facing is the lack of documentation from the past administration. So now, if we can't then determine as to whom does this 39 million belongs, the only way to clean this from our books is to take this to council to say, let council write this off. Otherwise, we're going to be left with the data in our books that we cannot trace. So that is the reasoning behind that, Chair. And it's it's something that is always recommended when you don't have documentation that can back whatever figure that is in your books. Yes, it is true. The General Manager for Development and Planning has been vacant for a long time. Chair, we did undertook a recruitment process, which ended by the first recommended candidate declining at the last moment, where we also went to the second one, who also did likewise, because she was also appointed in another bigger municipality. So we're then forced to go back. With the civil one, the former GM only vacated the position in December, and we have advertised them, and we are going to finish them. Thank you, Chair.
I have got some questions that I need to ask as well. And would like to get the response from the municipality. Can we find out what is actually constraining traditional leaders from participating in municipal councils, in your municipal council in particular, in terms of Section 81 of the Municipal Structures Act? What has been the intervention of the Department of Traditional Affairs in this regard? The other issue that I want to also ask is with regard to the progress in respect of the Section 189 Labor Relations Act process, which was previously contemplated to address the financial burden arising out of the municipality's bloated organogram. And then the other issue, which one want also to get clarity on, is directed to the province, this one. I want to know whether the province is ready to terminate the intervention by the 31st of March 2021 as envisaged. We've seen it in your presentation. And the other issue, if then that is going to be correct, I want to also understand whether most of the reasons for intervention has been addressed. The municipality has been receiving disclaimed and adverse audit opinions over the last 3 financial years due to unresolved prior years findings from the former Ushizi local municipality. I heard you responding to those issues because I also talked about in my opening remarks in the morning. But then the question that I want clarity from yourself in particular, I want to understand what is it that the Cogta financial experts doing differently to improve the audit outcomes for 2019-20 financial years. And then, yes, you've talking about your UIFW, but I'm tempted to also make a follow-up with regard to your non-submission of the UIFW registers to Cogta. As per the Municipal Finance Management Act provides in Section 32(4), as well as the lack of consequence management in dealing with this unauthorized irregular fruitless and wasteful expenditures. So those are the matters that I want the municipality to talk to and clarify, so that by the time we leave this meeting, we are sure that all the matters as raised also by the AG, there's been commitment on the part of the municipality to address them. Depending on what the responses that are gonna come, I think I'll still come back on the AG's report, the AG's findings themselves on the various matters. Over to you, the earlier questions as raised by Honorable Nkalipi and myself. I'll also be checking whether there are more colleagues who want to deliberate. Before they answer, Nkalipi, I see your hand is up again.
Or
The other
not-
additional item that you feel you've omitted or you've just forgotten to lower your hand, do us that favor and lower the hand on the platform. Over to you, Mayor and the team.
Thank you, Chairperson. Can the municipal manager please respond on the questions?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, with regard to the traditional leaders not attending, it's something that we have also tried to resolve. Our speaker has been trying to get to know what was a problem. I can say that when this administration started, they were even given the tools of trade. They were included in the emails that always go out whenever there's going to be meetings. But Chair, one thing that was then declared by the traditional leaders through a Cogta representative who came to our municipality was that when this administration started, there was some chaos in council meetings, which then became one of the reasons why the traditional leaders decided not to come. That has since stopped, but I think then they just decided to remain out of these meetings. But our administrator also has started to intervene in this regard, and we're hoping that maybe later we're going to see them participating in the meetings. Chair, Section 189 of the Labour Relations Act was instituted because of the bloated organogram. That is true. That was in 2018. When the new administrator came in, there were negotiations that were entered to with the unions, wherein there were some agreements that were reached, because the paramount decision was to say, how do we make sure that we save the jobs? One of the things that was agreed by the unions was to say they were not going to take the pay hikes, which would then mean that the municipality would have some savings. It was also agreed that there would be a moratorium in terms of appointing people from outside. We have maintained that up until now, where we have had a number of fatalities where some employees have passed away. We have not replaced them. We have got employees that have retired. We have not replaced them. We have got employees that have resigned. We have not replaced them in trying to make sure that we eventually come into a state where we are going to have a number of the people that we actually need. We have got a new organogram that has been adopted now. We are finishing the placement exercise, which is conducted by the municipality. And once we've done that, we'll go for the job evaluation. The unresolved prior challenges, Chair, are the ones that eventually prompted Cogta to give us a specialist. These are the things that we could not move because one thing with in some instances, we did not have enough evidence and records that will assist us. One of them is one that we've been talking about, that is the 39 million from receivables. So these things needed a person who has got who is a specialist in accounting, and that is the person that we were given by Cogta. In fact, what has happened now, on instances where we don't have evidence or records, the resource that were given by Cogta came up with the methodology that was going to table to Cogta, to the AG, so that the AG will then look at the methodology and accept it, because that methodology will determine the conclusions that we've made when we're submitting our AFS. So this specialist is assisting us a lot. The UIFW non-submission, Chair, in terms of the MFMA, we must accept that it was just a mishap from our side. It was the council. We always have submit this to council, and then we were not aware that we're supposed to submit it on a monthly basis. So we're submitting it on a quarterly basis. But since then, that has been corrected. Consequence management, Chair. When I was explaining as to how we reached this UIFW, I explained that most of these are from the prior years, and most of these they happened on the circumstances that were beyond the control of the officials. For an example, with the fruitless expenditure, say, if I may just record that example, where we said, because the municipality was in a cash flow crisis, we could not pay in time. Now, we could not then, Chair, go to the manager expenditure and tell him or her that you did not pay in time, and the municipality then incurred some interest or penalties, so we are going to charge you. So it was the circumstances that were beyond our control. It's the same as the irregular expenditure, which is something that happened prior to this administration, where the committees were not formulated according to the SM regulations. So now it simply means that there was no one that we could then charge because of that. I thank you, Chair. I hope that I've covered some of those questions that have been raised. Thank you.
Yes, I think we need to deal with your audit outcomes. We have to deal with that, because you did get an adverse audit opinion. And you know what is the meaning of an adverse audit opinion. And then when one looks through the AG report, you couldn't then provide information for audit in actual facts. you didn't want to provide sufficient, appropriate evidence as required by the AG. And then I think you need to tell us what are the problems. And the other issue, as one assesses this situation, you have been getting this advice and disclaimers even in the past. This is a clear indication that there's not been follow-ups on the issues that have been raised by the AG over the previous financial years. Because if indeed there was a proper post-audit action plan that was developed, adopted, and monitored by council, we couldn't have arrived where we have been with regard to the year under the review, that is 2018-19, where the situation is as it is. Because there's a lot of issues that the AG has raised. You'll recall 2017-18, your irregular expenditure was over 48 million. And then your fruitless and wasteful expenditure was also over 2 million. And then your unauthorized expenditure was also over 18 million. Then the AG is coming, it's on record now, saying that all these irregular expenditures incurred by the municipality was not investigated to determine if any other person is liable for the expenditure as required by Section 32B of the Municipal Finance Management Act. And then the issue with regard to your procurement and contract management, you are also found wanting, and these are the matters that the AG has raised in the previous 2 financial years, but it's like here, there was laxity, it's the name of the game, wherein people just disregard the laws and the regulations. As long as then there's no consequence management, then life goes on. And you are coming here, you are not even saying anything with regard to all these issues as the AG has raised. Because then you failed to disclose your current fruitless and wasteful expenditure. You failed to disclose your irregular expenditure. You failed to disclose your unauthorized expenditure. And in essence, when you do that, it's a clear indication that, in fact, the AG has got a way of putting it to say you didn't even include all irregular expenditure in the notes, in your financial statements. And then I think you need to tell us the reason behind you not doing that. What is it that you have been hiding? And why can't you then be subjected to audit? That also makes me to also ask the capacity in your finance department. And then I also want to understand from you, Mayor, have you been the mayor over the past 3 financial years where the municipality has been disclaimed and also receiving adverse opinion, including yourself, MM? Because honestly, under the circumstances, I think you need to account to the constituencies that you are serving, including us here, because it can't be that we found ourselves in this situation. It can't be on straightforward matters where you need to account, you don't account. That's why I also want to understand the skills of your personnel in the whole value chain in the municipality. And then the other issue that I want to also understand, also to say, have you been using consultants under the circumstances? And if they are there, how many, for what value? the other issue to say that your failure on its own because you see everything there, it's just a mess if you go through the AG's report. And then even these issues of preparing of the annual financial statement, then to me, it was just malicious compliance because the AG qualified couldn't even express opinion in anything. That includes your property and plant and equipment, VAT, receivables from exchange and non-exchange transaction, payables, everything. You didn't. And if it's an issue of controls, the AG has been loud and clear, and that was also, I had an opportunity of also reading your previous financial year audit reports. It's clear that once the AG issues a report with all those findings and concerns, to you colleagues, it's just business as usual. Nothing happens. Then come the next year, but Mayor, you need to tell us, you need to actually tell us here, Mayor, and the colleagues, either the speaker, the chief whip, and everybody, to say, is this what you want to be remembered of? You come into a council that has not been complying. I'm even not even sure whether the communities down there are receiving the services. Because there are also instances here where in the AG is saying there were payments made for services that were not rendered. So these are some of the things that is a major concern for all of us. I was doing that so that my colleagues could be then be coming in as they are coming from their house, so that if they have got other issues to raise. I see Princess Buthelezi has her hand is up. For now, we can do that, then allow them to respond. Is the mayor still here? Is the mayor still here with us?
Yes, yes, Honorable Chair.
I wanted to be sure about that one. Okay, proceed, Honorable Princess Buthelezi. Honorable Princess, sure.
Ngiyabonga Sihlalo.
Can we see you, Honorable Princess?
I'm sitting in the dark. We've got
You're in the
load shedding. We've got load shedding. So book.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's a
It's
dark
okay.
city. Yes. Yes.
Shame. Sorry.
So I have a follow-up question, Sihlalo. I believe the you actually posed the question to him regarding the participation by traditional leaders, as per the prescripts of the of the legislation that states that they should participate. In his response, I didn't quite grasp what he was advancing as the reason for their lack of participation. I basically heard him saying that they were provided with service tools, and but basically they just don't participate. But the administrator is also going to follow up. But that I find that to be a very unsatisfactory as a response. And perhaps he could, if he doesn't mind, to please just shed more light, on the response to that question, Sihlalo. Ngiyabonga.
Yes, I also didn't want to have a dialogue with him because I equally share your sentiments. That question was never adequately responded to. The same thing with regard to the Section 189 Local Labor Relations Act process question. It was not responded to. Let me then hand over to the mayor to decide who deals with what.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Chair, let us start by responding to the question as to being a mayor for 2016. Yes, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, we currently we were having approximately 35 or 37 issues from the previous audit opinion, and we addressed 31 issues, and those issues were accepted by the AG. And let us thank Cogta who assisted us on that area. And Chair, for the other part of the UIF, we didn't have the evidence as from 2016-17. That is why the AG disclaimed us, because we didn't have evidence of any issues that they were needing on that time. And when I was responding on the adverse opinion of 2017-18, Sihlalo, you will remember that I alluded that on the 2017-18 adverse, there was a very long list of issues from the AG, the 17-18 and 18-19. It was the reasonable list of issues that the AG brought to us. And that is why that maybe on this issue alone, for me as the mayor, I see the progress. Then Slalo, let me touch on the traditional leaders. We have the good relations with the traditional leaders. And then previously on the 2016, as the municipal manager has stated, we didn't have the stable council. And unfortunately for us, by then they attended, approximately 2 of them were there. And so it was on our side that we didn't maybe have the stability on the council on the 2016. But we are trying our level best to negotiate with them to attend the council meeting. Of course, Slalo, it is not easy. They are Amakosi, and even though they want to engage with the municipality, they rather call us than coming to us. But as the municipal manager said, that we are now assisted by the administrator as well as Cogta, as to talk to them about the importance of attending to the council. Chair, I like to also touch on section 189. On this section, we applied for it just because the municipality was having the bloated organogram. As we measured, so we had one position that was occupied by maybe 2 employees. So by this, we were trying just to control, if I may put it like that. Maybe the municipal manager can put it better than I am, but we were trying to control what we were having, because we negotiated, or we engaged the trade unions that we are having, that we did not want to retrench, but instead let us try and stabilize what we are having. So the municipal manager stated that when we are having the resignation, we don't replace that resignation. And when we are having death in our municipality, we don't replace that. We are trying our level best to accommodate what the employees esinabo ama employees ukuthi agcine angazange a retrench. Sihlalo bengizocela ke ukuthi, because we are also touching on the AFS, we are having the CFO with us here. I would love him to articulate on that one. And for the consultants, yes, the municipality is still having the consultant, especially who are doing the AFS for the municipality. I thank you, Slalo. Let me give the municipal manager another opportunity. Then I'll love our CFO to also engage on the matter. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I thought that I had adequately covered the issue of Section 189. I think the Mayor has also added on that one, that along the way, there were negotiations that we had, because the section also, it determines that there should be, we should exhaust all angles to see whether there is no way of trying to save jobs. I think which is what we did with the unions, who then agreed that at least for a period of 3 years, the workers would not accept any hikes, and what has also been alluded to by the Mayor, with the fact that we are not replacing anyone, whether it is through death, resignation, or retirement. We have put a moratorium in terms of the appointments. This also has, I think, has hit us in terms of the another question that we have asked, Honorable Chair, in terms of the skills that are available. There are officials from specific finance department who have departed and we have not replaced them. Yes, that is has hit us hard. For example, one of them was a budget manager who we did not replace. And we have had a number of glitches when we are submitting our budget, which shows that there were some skills that we don't have. And the skills audit have also shown that there are strategic positions that we need to fill. But we said, let us finish up the process of placement and then see as to where the gaps still are. As Honorable Mayor has said, we will need our CFO, Mr. Hadebe, to come in, especially in terms of the specific items that were submitted in the AG or opinion. But I can assure you, Chair, it's a pity, because if the prior year issues are not cleared, they are always carried over. Which is why in my earlier presentation, I did say all the communication findings that we've received in the current AG assessment, they are all from the prior years, which shows that we have put enough controls to make sure that what was raised previously does not come up again. The only thing that we failed to do was to make sure that we clear the prior year challenges, which was caused by the fact that I've also raised the issue of evidence and records, which is why Cogta then deployed this financial expert to help us into clearing that. That's why I even said one is hopeful that there's going to be much improvement in terms of the AG. With consultants, yes, I think the Mayor has also alluded to the fact that we are still using consultants because of the lack of some skills within the municipality, which will then be addressed once the moratorium have been lifted, which can only be done once all the processes that we have undertaken are concluded. That is where we're going to say we can now look at the crucial skills that we need and then start appointing them. With your permission, Chair, I would like our CFO, Mr. Hadebe, to come and address the nitty-gritties of the AG report, because sometimes if I go there, there might be some things that I may left out. With your permission, Chair. Thank you.
I'm waiting for the CFO to proceed. Is the CFO there?
Good evening, Chair and committee members, MMs, colleagues. My MM has alluded on some of the.
Can we see you?
Okay. My MM has alluded on the issues of a audit opinion. What I wanted also to emphasize is, if you look at our audit opinion 2018-19, the one that you were referring to, for example, it talks to the first one, which is PPE, that actually refers to the fixed asset register. So our fixed asset register, we've developed the new fixed asset register, but the challenge there is prior issues. As you can see on all those matters that were raised by AG, there are two figures. There's a figure which is outside the brackets, and there's a figure which are inside the brackets. So the one, it means the both the comparison years. So it's a prior year and the current year. So whatever adjustment were done on the current year, which was being audited, because there were issues on the prior year, as you can see, there's 2018 and there's also current year. So
before you proceed, CFO.
Yes.
Prior year and current year. Who was there at the prior year and the current year? Are you not the same warm bodies who have been there?
Yes, we are the same.
Can I check, for how long have you been with the municipality? 2016-17, were you there at the municipality?
Yes, during the matter, I was there in the municipality.
2017-18, you were there at the municipality, am I wrong?
You are right.
And then 2018-19, you have been there. And then you come to us here proudly saying all these issues are because of prior year. And whereas it's you who were supposed to have resolved this matter so that when you get audited in the following year, all these matters have been addressed. So you tell us these things. We all know, I've raised it sharply, that this is because you didn't attend to prior years audit outcomes. We said that. But here, because this is after the fact, we are interested, don't repeat that. We are interested to say, how did it happen? And why are you still keeping your job? Just a straightforward matter. Maybe if we ask you that way, they will be able to respond to the questions.
Okay, let me, when I say prior year, I'll give you a straight answer. The issues came when two measures happened. So when the two consolidated AFS were done on the 2016-17, there were issues from the prior or from the former municipalities, being Imbabazane local municipality and Umjezi local municipality. Those are the main issues that are affecting progress on our audit outcome. Hence, we had, therefore, with the assistance from Cogta, we had a meeting with Auditor General to say, how do we move from those prior year issues? Because most of the information, documentation, and support documents are no longer available. That is when it was discussed, and resolved that maybe the easiest way will be to develop a methodology that will be presented to AG, stating all those prior issues and errors that are there on our IFS, how we're going to address them currently. I will make an example with 39 million, which is receivables. I think it's also part of the finding. That 39 million is only a line item which only appears on the general ledger, and it does not affect age analysis, data's age analysis. So because of age analysis not talking to general ledger, because of the 89 million which came as a line item, that line item came as an opening balance on the 2014 financial year. So because there's no supporting documents, because it's supposed to be, if it's a data, there should be a line item that goes to the general ledger and the data that are talking to that opening balance. But because there's nothing, it's only one line, opening balance, 88 million or 89 million. So now it is part of the data, but when you look at your data's age analysis, it's no longer there, so it does not talk to one another. Because of that, then AG decided to say, we are not going to audit your data because it does not, there are no underlying records. Because age analysis does not talk to your general ledger, and then it also does not talk to your financial statements because of that one line item. So the data's age analysis were never audited. That is why they are raising those findings. The same goes with the fixed asset register, property, plant, and equipment. Yes, you've developed the new fixed asset register, but there are items that could not be found. And remember, we're consolidating the two. We cannot just do away with what was there previously. So because there are no supporting items that were talking to the prior fixed asset register, the new AG decided not to audit that one. Also comes with the figures that were there on the fixed asset register. I'll make one example. There were fixed investment properties, which are on the fixed asset register. But AG then requested some invoices that is supporting the value that is there on the property investment. And one of the issues was, I think I remember there's currently one they're looking for invoice which goes back as 2006. And some were going back as far as 1996. And the issue, and remembering that Umjes was a TLC previously. And so because now we cannot find those records that are talking to or the supporting invoices, that's one of the things that AG then that we're presenting to AG, saying, okay, because now we cannot find the invoices going backwards as far as 2006 on our offices, we'll therefore be using a valuation role, support such. So if they then agree on that one, we'll hoping then AG that will therefore audit the PPE. That is one of the reasons why we had to develop that methodology. And currently, for the past 2 years, a fixed asset register was never audited. But this year, they've started doing e-audit on the fixed asset register. So they've been going out to do e-verification of assets as per what we've developed as our fixed asset register, as well as looking at our methodology. That's why now we're hoping that with the current audit that is happening, we are hoping we'll know after they've done e-audits to say, okay, now that's where we are lacking. So we are expecting an improvement on that one. So with the same also with EVET, it has to do with supporting documentation for prior years. And And the worst part, which affected the municipality, was these municipalities were using two different financial systems. And so when the two financial systems were meshed, that's where the most challenges happened. So you'll find that it now comes with an opening balance because it was taken from another system and which we could no longer access. So the merging of the systems also had an impact on the audit opinion. And we're hoping with the current situation, UAG is busy auditing the movement that happened on our financial system. We also moved from another financial system to another one, and so they are busy auditing that. So with that, we are hoping also we won't have such challenges in the future going forward. I think I've touched on the receivables. Also the issue of the payables. Also in the payables, we had lots of creditors, unpaid creditors that appeared also as a result of the merger. As MM was saying, we currently were still paying, but we have managed to pay all of those. We were still paying in the 2017-18 financial year, we're still paying creditors that we owed as far back as 2014-15 from the former municipalities. And some documentation was never there, which we could not pay. So, and UAG, we agreed with UAG, and remembering that we are operating in this municipality, not all our creditors do submit statements on a monthly basis, because we normally trying to encourage the use of the PEE. So they normally don't send out statements. I think it's one of the issues where UAG was saying, yes, you've got this, but where are the statements from your creditors to support your aging that it is correct? So as a result, then whatever was on our creditors, for those that could not supply us with the statements, then UAG said, but yes, we agree, but we are not happy because not all your creditors supported through statements. It's the same item that came currently with the AG, and we also had a meeting with the AG to try and address, talking now with the current situation, to try and address the very same issue of the customers not sending statements, of which the change on the AG's attitude was then to say, okay, we agree, we understand that not all customers you're dealing with submits the statement. So what we'll only need after year end, let's have at least 3 invoices. Say our year end is June dated. Let's get the invoices if those you've used those creditors in July, August, and September, and see if they won't be showing any outstanding payments. Then if that's the case, then we'll be happy with that one. So also on the issue of e-creditors, we have therefore be in a position to say we'll be moving with the e-creditors. Employee benefits and provision of leave. Also on this issue, we had employees. One of the issues with the employees was we had I remember, I'll call it, we had lots of employees, but with no records. There were employees which even don't have employee files with the HR. So as a result, when AG was taking a sample to say, okay, let's go and check employee files, then you'll find that there are some information missing on some of the employees, like to indicate when was that employee initially employed, because of a movement between the two employees, between the two municipalities. So as a result of no updated employee records and employee files, then we had a issue also on that one. Hence, there was a resolution that was taken to say, yes, previously, beside the issue of employee files, there were also the employee leave that were used. It was just a paper with no, if that paper is lost, there was nothing left. So the municipality then decided to say, okay, let's have a book, which we call it a leave book, because we're still not using a financial system to record our leave. So as a result, then there was a decision taken by council to say, okay, we'll therefore start afresh with e-leave. So hence we'll be giving employees a specific number of days, and we start from there moving forward to try and address the issue of leave for employees, because those leaves that were a one-page leave, they got lost with no update on the employee record. So now with the having a leave book which have duplicates, so even if one is lost, you can get a copy from a duplicate which is in the book. So it's one of the issues to say, how do we move forward from e-leave issue that was also discovered by UAG. Same goes with cash and cash equivalent. On the cash and cash equivalent, we also had a challenge with what was in the bank and what was in the GL, as well as finally what is shown on the cash book. Because of the financial system that we are using, so if you process a transaction on the cash book, not following the correct route of transacting on the GL and the cash book, it will therefore give a difference between your cash book and your GL, as well as your bank balance. So because of that, we've been having challenges with the cash and cash equivalent, of which we then had to, currently in this current year that we're dealing with, we therefore decided to follow a route of like, let's investigate how it went wrong. And with the new system, it also allows no journals to go through, because most of the issues that were found that were making the difference between the cash book and the general ledger was as a result of when you process a journal. When you process journal, like you're correcting a transaction on the cash book, the wrong way instead of using a correct way, but at the end of the day, it's correcting. So the how you use it, how you correct it, then had an impact of saying, then AG decided to say, because these three are not talking to one another. Yes, we agree your cash book, cash and cash equivalent should be talking to your bank statement. We do have your confirmation of a bank statement, which is also an indicative on the bank, on the AFS, but your cash book and your GL is not talking to that. Hence, again, we had that issue of the finding on the cash book. As a result of that, our financial statement was only showing the bank balance, which is the correct way, but the general ledger and the cash book was not talking to the balance that is shown in the bank. Okay, also e-revenue, as I've also indicated, I think also on the revenue, on this line, revenue from non-exchange transactions, we had properties, those properties which were billed incorrectly, and not as per the Municipal Property Rates Act. Those were therefore taken to a council to correct, and then after correction, we had to therefore write back, or I'll say we had to credit those that were incorrectly billed. One of it was a property that belonged to Public Works, where Public Works ended up saying we owe them 18 million because they overpaid as a result of incorrect billing, which was used. That included e-water. I think it's a dam which we used, the Wachenriff dam. So it was incorrectly billed, and then Department of Public Works paid. And then when we discovered that it has been incorrectly billed as far back as 2012, if I'm not mistaken, then we had to reverse that. As you can see also on the revenue from non-exchange, it indicates the property rates was restated at 47 million compared to 2018, which was 88.95 million. So if you see there's a high drop from the prior year, which was 88 million down to 47 million. This is because the amount that was reversed from property rates was around 33 million to correct the incorrect billing that was done on the PSI. Also on the transfers and subsidies, these were the matter of comparative figures which we needed to correct, and these were also corrected. But one of the issues when we are finalizing this audit outcome, some of these findings by Auditor General were discussed with AG. And when we finalized with AG then allowed us to redo our annual financial statement and resubmit. We're given a deadline. But when that was therefore prepared to be done, the financial system that we're using then also let us down. And the AG said, because you've never met the deadline on this issue of correcting your AFS, we are only going to take what was initially submitted, regardless of the response on the communication of fundings that were given by that we proposed to Auditor General. So hence it was still, therefore it was left hanging. Also come with the bulk purchase. There was a reperformance of on the bulk purchase, it's only ESCOM. There was a reperformance of a reconciliation done with the AG as well as our team, of which we agreed on the figure that was supposed to be therefore corrected on our annual financial statement, but also could not be clear as a result of when we were doing the latest financial statements. We missed the deadline, and then AG said we're taking the initial submissions, and this will remain as a finding on the audit report.
And who took responsibility for that? It's fine, you didn't submit, and I would like to hear saying, I take responsibility. You are not saying that.
Oh, I was going to say it at the end of of my presentation, because at the end of the day, it is the responsibility of the CFO, regardless of whether there was any other thing that could be done or could not be done. So it is a responsibility of the CFO at the end of the day. Also, with regard to employee-related cost, on that one, also there was a correction journal which was supposed to be done to correct the 180, which was around 14 million. Yes, there were supporting documents on that one, but because we could not also correct the FS, it was therefore left as a finding by AG and reported accordingly on the audit the report. Also goes with the commitments. These are a contract register. the commitments which were submitted also, there were discrepancies and there were lots of records that could not be found to support what was, I think mostly on this one, what was supposed to be, how did we calculate your retentions? So our registers had the retentions and there were some completion certificates which AG was looking for, of which also we had challenges with the prior consultants that were used. Some of the consultants that the municipality was using, some of them were fired. As a result, they could not even give us the completion certificates on some of the projects. On some of the projects were left hanging. There are projects which are still in the work as recorded as work in progress, which were constructed as far back as 2014, but because there were issues with the consultants and the contractor, by then those projects are still not finalized, they are work in progress. And as a result, there are also no certificates which AG was looking for. So hence our registers was therefore, AG decided to say, therefore your commitments, we could not continue with auditing them. I think with the issue of irregular, MM did specify on the irregular and unauthorized expenditure. Also, a cash flow statement goes together with what I reported as cash and cash. So it's one and the same issue that we had previously. And then we also had contingent liabilities. Also on that one, there was a misstatement on the contingent liability. So e-register that we keeping as the municipality also had difference when the notes was written on the AFS. As a result, this was also going to be corrected, but could not be corrected. And then there were also differences between the comparison of statements of a budget and the actual. This is when you prepare on your annual financial statement, there is a budget which indicates what was budgeted for, and then there's also actual spend on that one. So there were also misstatements which were identified by AG. Also, this one was supposed to have been corrected, but as a result could not be because we missed that deadline which I was referring to. So up to here, this is the most items that were regarded as an adverse that resulted into the adverse audit opinion by Auditor General. The rest are also matters of emphasis which are listed. I won't go through them. Listen.
Okay. Can I recognize the mayor before the other colleagues raise issues, including follow-ups?
Thank you, Chairperson.
Yeah.
Can I proceed?
Yes, proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, there is something I like to add on what we were articulating. Chairperson, let us inform the sitting that for the former Imbabazan.
Where are you, Mayor? Where are you? We can't see you.
I'm touching on section 189 and as well as the
We
audit.
can't see you. Can you show your face, please?
Sorry. My apologies, Chair. My apologies, Chair. Ngikhona, Chair. Chair, I'd like to add on what my team has said. For former Imbabazane, Honorable Chair, their salaries were above the bargaining council grade. and we ended up having 56% on salary bills. And Chair, let us also inform the sitting that our councillors never received any increment since 2016, as we are complying with our cost containment. Also, the employees, they never received any increment as per the processes of Section 189. And for the audit opinion, Honorable Chair, I wish to take it back to the 1 month whereby we were assessed for August 2016 only, whereby we received for former Imbabazane unqualified opinion with so many findings. And on Umjezi, we received the disclaimer with so many findings. These are the reasons, Honorable Chair, that caused the crisis on the municipality. Chair, I also wish to add, I thought maybe they will add on the pay parity issue. We had the pay parity issue, which we implemented it on 2017. Then Chair, and other creditors that we were having caused the distress on the financial viability of the municipality. Thank you, Chair. That's what I wanted to add on the team. Thank you.
Can I recognize Honorable Sowu, followed by Honorable Kalipi, in that order?
Okay, thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Sorry for not informing you that today I'm going for checkup. Sorry.
We got that apology in the morning.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. From
Can
the
you-
mayor.
Can you put on your video, please?
On my this thing, I don't know what is happening since yesterday, because yesterday we didn't have lights here, and then something just happened.
Don't speak over the mic, just put on the video. If you can't, let us know so that we proceed.
Okay, yeah, Chairperson, yes, I've been listening to them for what they are saying about the municipality. But me, I really need clarity on the issue of so many mistakes that had happened in their municipality. Do they really have data capturing in their municipality now? Do their consequence management and impact do their job? That I will also want the EM and whoever want to respond to this question so that they must clarify us. Because for the past 3 financial years, the municipality were constantly approved unfunded budget. This is also attributed to poor historic cash flow of the municipality, which is compounded by the low collection rate for debtors. Now, if I'm asked this question, low collection of rates, do they have the list of indigent? If they don't have, why didn't they come up with the mechanism of making sure that all people that owes the municipality and then they pay their services that rendered by the municipality? The municipality received the disclaimer, another question, in 2016-17, an adverse audit opinion for the past 2 years in 2017 and 18 and 2018 and 19. The root cause for the adverse audit opinion in 2018-19 were property, plant, and equipment. Now, valued added tax and receivable from exchange and non-exchange transaction. Now, why did this happen, and how are they going to resolve this kind of a problem? Because it seems that this problem has been there for some years, and also the present mayor were there. And then if he's talking about most of the documents are not there, and then I'll ask them, that's why I'm asking them that they should respond to this question of data capturing. Because if we are having a data capturing, they would follow their data capturing and then do likewise of asking question, what is it that is happening from their different departments? Why did this happen? And how are they going to resolve this problem? I thank you, Chairperson. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Sow. Can you mute your microphone? Thank you, and lower your hand as well. Thank you, Honorable Sow. Honorable Mkalipi.
Thanks very much, Chair. I have put my video on before you ask me to do it.
You see it.
Okay. No, thanks, Chair. So it comes back to the MM when I was listening to the CFO explaining why the adverse opinion from the AGs about the employees' benefits of provision for leave, which costed the municipality 9.29 million. So when I'm listening to the CFO, he's mentioning things like there were no proper records. And also the AG spoke about employee related cost, and it costed 180 million. And in 2018, it was 14 million. So therefore the MM, as we were correctly so, Chairperson, by asking the CFO if he was not there during those years, when he mentioned previous years. I'm asking the MM as an accounting officer, with a clear understanding that one of the reasons why they have a bloated organogram is because of the merger. But what the MM needs to clarify is the fact that when the CEO is saying that one of the main reasons why they found themselves in this mess is because there were no proper records. And the AG is saying exactly that there were no records to back up on why this 9.29 million were used. Is because of no proper records on transfer and subsidies, no records at all. So therefore, it goes back on what we always say, Chairperson, in this committee, to say that if there's no consequence management, it means that there will be no resolution on such matters. And if the HR does not have proper records, therefore we need to know how does they want to address this matter, or how did they address this matter? Because what I was listening to CFO, he said that after they explained to the AG, therefore they have some talks and understanding with the AG in order to ukulungisa amabhuku on again. But it goes back to say who was responsible for HR of the municipality. Is that person was action taken against that person who was costing this municipality so much millions? Because these millions can be diverted to be used for service delivery for our people who are suffering on the ground. So I just need that clarity. But again, Chairperson, if I remember very well, and thanks to you and the researcher of the committee, because I forgot that we had this discussion before when we were discussing measures with all other municipalities in KZN. And we raised some serious concerns in terms of Section 189. And I remember very well, I even said, as far as I know, Section 189 of the Labor Relations Act, it talks to the operational requirements. So now I wanted a clarity by then, if the municipality can also use Section 189, because operational requirements, it talks to the company doing profit or making profit and so forth. But I was listening to the mayor as well, and I'm very happy, Chairperson, I don't want to lie, that our people didn't lose jobs. And we spoke about this thing yesterday to another municipality, and I would love to strongly propose to Inkosi Langalibalele municipality to give us a report, not now, but just a proper report for a purpose of sharing with other municipalities, Chairperson. Do you remember that we are still having lockerheads with Amatole district on the same issue of bloated organogram? So we are saying to them, is a no-no, the issue of retrenching people. I even said to Amatole, now how they must just explain to us, to a committee, because soon they are going to be expected to go and campaign for local government elections. So now if the first call, if they want to address issues of a salary bill in their municipality, they want to retrench people, how are they going to retrench those people? Because today those people are the workers in the municipality, but once they get retrenched, they become the members of the community. So noma ungabaxosha la, but ngeke uzubabalekele mase besemphakathini sukhohliwe usuthi nje ke ngiya Ward 2 ngiyo campaigner for a political party yami, ufike boom athi yeah, so just tell us what are you going to do in terms of addressing unemployment in the country. And then because uphethe manifesto ye political party yakho usukhohliwe ukuthi no, you were also a mayor of Inkosi Langalibalele, and then we retrench abantu bazokukhumbuza ukuthi but mina nje ungiretrenchile, so why are you saying that you are going to create ama job opportunities? So we were engaging with other municipalities which are not here in that context to say that no, one, before even COVID-19, the situation was bad. I think the rate of unemployment was sitting at around 30% or 29%, but now it's even worse. So we must, or we ought to protect what we have in terms of our people to be having some jobs in order to support their families. But I'm very impressed to learn from the MM and the mayor saying that no, in fact, they didn't continue with Section 189. Although I hear some of the reasons to say that no, you find that one person was doing the very same job with one person, but it was also not the way to go to say, okay, uhlengiwe no chairperson or umama mtambi, they are doing one job or they are qualifying on the same job. So therefore, I was also going to be interested when you're using Section 89. So ubuzothi uhlengiwa umxosha ngaliphi ke kumtambi with same qualifications, with same jobs that they are doing. But at least no one was retrenched. And then I think if we can get this report, Chairperson, in a form of, for us as a committee to share with other municipalities, because it's cause for concern for us as well as this portfolio committee, for the municipalities who just go for a jugular to say, no, now I'm applying this Section 189, so I want to cut a number of workers in this municipality, in these municipalities. So now they must share with us how did they manage, how do they align, or how do they did their restructuring in terms of accommodating everyone, or is polluting the organogram. So we can also share with other municipalities to save jobs, instead of saying that no, just go when I sala, when I just go when I sala. So that is my recommendation to them, and humbly asking them that not today, but maybe Chairperson, you can also give a guidance at the end of the meeting to say that when can we get that report, and that report will be the report of the committee. So therefore we can share with other municipalities in the country in this aspect of polluted organogram. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Talib. Yes. We have dealt with amalgamated municipalities, and I've said that in my opening remarks. But post the amalgamation, there are internal problems that you can't put the blame on amalgamation. The AG has picked up some internal control deficiencies, not talking about the historical issues. This 2018-19, the year under review. And then the AG is on record saying that leadership did not provide adequate oversight and monitoring. That goes to you, Mayor, Speaker, Chief Whip, and the entire council. Then, issue of around consequence management, it was not implemented. And then the other issue, there was no compliance. In fact, the compliance with procurement and contract management was not implemented, no, monitored. This goes to, and you had me talking to the CFO the way I was talking to you. This around the leadership, senior management of the municipality, but it's a culture in this institution when you look at this, that there's no consequence management. Because where we are seated, in 2017-18, you got an adverse opinion only on basic service delivery. Then on the year under review 2018-19, the AG disclaimed you. Because where they were seated, they were not so sure whether refuse was being refused, removed. Street lights were being serviced, roads were being maintained. There was no such performance information. And then you can't blame it on amalgamation. It's leadership, or when people have become comfortable with mediocrity, they do that. Because the AG is also on record saying that there were no reasonable steps taken by the same management, Mayor. There was no reasonable steps taken to prevent the unauthorized expenditure. Fine, on employee-related costs, we will hear that to say, but then you had the option, because when you talk about amalgamation, a reasonable manager could have foreseen, as you are saying, that the other colleagues from the other municipalities were paid at higher scale than yours. It means when you were still given money at that sliding scale to support the amalgamation, these are the matters that you should have prioritized. So the money that you are having, let me address this. But then when somebody is not taking reasonable steps, that's when the unauthorized expenditure comes into play. Because then you had to overspend on the employee-related costs. Then your irregular expenditure is mainly on the non-availability of information. Because you have moved from amalgamation and then you have been receiving advice and disclaimer on the two previous financial years, you decided to say, no. Now, because we'll use amalgamation as an excuse, then, because they were warm bodies, that's why I was asking also the CFO to say, why are you not taking responsibility? Because here, this irregular expenditure of yours is solely based on non-availability of information. With regard to your wasteful and fruitless expenditure amounting to 1.78 million, this is solely to late payment of invoices. Can you blame amalgamation for late payment of invoices? No, you're not gonna do that. So it's when somebody is failing to do what he or she is paid to do, and then that's where you find situation like this. And through all, I asked it deliberately I didn't hear anyone talking about any consequence management, because also the AG is also on record saying all irregular expenditures in these municipalities has never been investigated. You see the extent of the problem. Then that takes me to the province, to my question that I raised earlier. The province will have to talk to us on this one to say, what therefore is this Cogta financial expert doing differently in order to improve the audit outcomes for the year that is not that is being audited now, that is 2019-2020. And then to the colleagues from the Cogta in the province, given this current status quo, are you still prepared to terminate the section 139(1)B intervention on the 31st of this month? Can you proudly say as a province that you have adequately addressed all the reasons for the intervention as and when you invoked it? So those are the issues that one wanted to raise. Before that, Honorable Kheza also has issues to raise before you respond. Honorable Kheza. Honorable Kheza.
Chairperson, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
I'm having a problem today.
Mm.
No, Chairperson, I have not heard anything about the questions that I asked earlier on, even though that I wanted to follow up with these ones as well. There's one question that I asked on water boards as to what is the municipality's what the municipality's action will be, given the fact that the AG is saying that they owe more than 1 billion. What is the action that they will take to ensure that the money that is owed to by business and government departments is then paid back, to ensure that they also settle to a certain extent the water boards in the municipality. And the other issue, Chair, that I wanted to raise is whether is the question that I asked on irregular expenditure of the district, because there is section 32 subsection 2B of the MFMA saying that a municipality must recover unauthorized, irregular, and fruitless and wasteful expenditure from the person liable for that expenditure. So I just want to understand what have they done to recover monies that were lost to the UIFW. And the other issue that I wanted to raise is the question of consultants. They are talking about consultants having been fired at some point. Couldn't they have seen in the first place that the consultants would then come into a municipality and compile the financial statements, but as well as to ensure that the skills that are transferred to the internal audit teams, couldn't they then had some sense in them that said that there should be value for money. There should be some pointers in terms of the value for money, and there should be some indicators that these consultant firms should meet, and how they continued and found out later on tells me that there is no proactivity from the municipality to actually have indicators that are pointing at whether the person, you know, if I'm going to an interview, there are indicators that you look at, Chairperson, and say that, but Cesar does not meet the requirements. You know, I can't hire him. And because he could, there are risks here. Couldn't they have picked that up when they hired the consultants? I just want to upraise on that because there is the MFMA there. It talks about whether this thing the fruitless and wasteful expenditure in subsection 5 now, because they are talking about the writing off. So did the mayor wittingly or unwittingly or was there any advice from the accounting officers, from the accounting officer of the municipality, that there could be expenditure that could result in this regard, in the fruitless, wasteful, and unauthorized expenditure? Couldn't have it have been that would have been the case? If so, what is the recovery plan of the municipality? Because that's where my interest is, in terms of the recovery of this money that was wasted, and what are the people that if there is any that are found to have been doing wrong within these expenditures that the AG has found. I think that those are my follow-up questions, Chair. Thanks for now.
Can the province be the first one to answer now? The issue of expert and the termination of the.
Thank you, Chairperson. May I request the Chief Director of Municipal Finance, Ms. Joey Christian, to respond.
Good evening, Chairperson, honourable members, Your Worships, the Mayors, all protocols observed. Chairperson, in respect of the financial experts that were sent to Inkosi Langalibalele Municipality, let me indicate firstly that these financial experts assumed duty in June last year. And we have obviously to some degree also been impacted by COVID. However, we are confident, Chairperson, that we will move Inkosi Langalibalele Municipality out of the adverse audit opinion. I think, as the Mayor has already alluded to, there was a list of 37 audit issues, and they were significant matters. They were not minor issues. Of those 37, 31 have been resolved and have actually been accepted by the Auditor General in the current audit. There were 6 outstanding issues, Chairperson, of which at least 3 of the major ones have been discussed here, or 4 of them. The first is the issue of the receivables, and it's around this matter of it's 38 million rand. Let me indicate that the receivables that are being sent for write-off is only a portion of the total receivables that was reconciled. The total receivable amount was 308 million rand. And the financial experts were able to reconcile and get supporting evidence for approximately 270 million rand of that receivables. It is only that portion of 38 million for which there is no records whatsoever. We've engaged the AG on this. We have conducted all the alternate procedures that we possibly could to get these, to get evidence in this regard. And that is the reason why then the recommendation is that the amount be written off. The asset management area, there were issues around investment property. The cost of the investment property on the asset register could not be supported because there were no invoices. As you are aware, the disclaimer of the former Umchezi municipality meant that from as far back as 2013, 2014, there were no records in respect of some of these assets. What we did to resolve that, together with the financial experts, was we obtained independent valuations for these investment properties to provide evidence to the AG that these values are not overstated. As far as the systems and reconciliations are concerned, creditors were a major issue, debtors were a major issue. We spent a lot of time at the municipality ensuring that the reconciliations that are done and the evidence that is supplied to the Auditor General is actually valid, accurate, and reliable, and supported by evidence. We re-performed procedures and performed further procedures on 14 areas. As far as financial management is concerned, honorable members, they include, amongst others, the bank reconciliations, the payroll reconciliations, creditors reconciliations, debtors reconciliations. And I must say, when the merger occurred, as far as creditors reconciliations were concerned, we didn't even know who the creditors were. And there were creditors that were emerging out of the woodwork that were not recorded on the systems of the former Umchezi municipality. And so we actually had to ask creditors to provide proof of contract, valid contracts, so that their claims could be then validated and dealt with. And some of these creditors go as far back as, again, 2014, 2015. We did VAT reconciliations, we looked at commitments and the contract registers, inventories, etc. So as I indicated, Chair, there were 14 such reconciliations that were performed. We also then took the financial statements that were prepared and we reviewed those to ensure compliance with the GRAP standards, to ensure compliance with the MFMA, issues that led to material statements in the past, and all of these matters were addressed. While we were there, we wanted to ensure that the current year is also looked at. So we prepared financial statements. We are almost finalizing financial statements for the mid-year ending December 2020. Chairperson, the audit action plan, we looked at all of the audit issues. We looked at the municipality's response, their working paper files, because the AG will look at whether or not these audit issues have been adequately resolved. And as I indicated, 31 of the 37 were 100% complete and acceptable and accepted. The performance reports, I think one of the members was indicating that performance management was an issue. So we looked at the quarterly performance reports for the 1920 financial year. We reviewed those. We reviewed the internal audit reports and their reviews as well. And we identified the performance management gaps. Post the internal audit findings, we engaged with performance management in the municipality to go through what was required to correct those gaps. And we then gave assurance on the portfolio of evidence and the quality thereof for submission to the AG. The annual performance report then also for the 2019-2020 financial year was then reviewed for accuracy, and the portfolio of evidence to the APR was assessed for the relevance and completeness. We did a secondary review to ensure that all the issues raised by the Auditor General were also addressed from prior years. So, Chairperson, those are some of the significant issues that we have addressed as far as the audit is concerned. There are other aspects that we have been dealing with that relate to areas of consequence management, and I think this is on the matter of the UIFW in particular. Chairperson, one of the major reasons why we're not able to investigate and conclude and get to consequence management as far as UIFW is concerned is because there are in fact no supporting documents for when the irregular expenditure occurred. I think in the absence of the payment vouchers that are required, we were not able to deal with it. What we are doing instead now to address this matter is look at the management reports as the basis of our investigation, because these indicate the basis of the non-compliance, and it comes directly from the management letter of the Auditor General, and those are the procedures that have been performed in terms of looking at the UIFW. Chairperson, I can understand the members' concerns regarding consequence management in particular. Let me say that some of the senior managers who were responsible for this, including the relevant accounting officer, is no longer in the employ of the municipality. I think Mr. Mkhize, the MM, neglected to say that he was not there at the time of these transactions and occurrences. Neither was the current CFO. The current CFO is an employee of the former Imbabazane municipality, which received an unqualified audit at the time of the merger. The former CFO of the Umchezi municipality is no longer in the employ of the municipality. However, Chairperson, we will pursue the investigations and compliance in terms of Section 32 of the MFMA so that we are able to deal with the matter. We have, as has been indicated by the MM previously, even prior to the commencement of the audit, we engaged the Auditor General to indicate to them that these are the alternative procedures that we as the financial experts from Cogta were going to implement. They are the best that we can do. They are the most technically sound that we can do to try and provide some measure of assurance in terms of the records of the now newly established, not so new, but the merged municipality, Inkosi Langalibalele. And many of the methodologies and approaches were discussed in advance with the AG. Chair, the reason for that is we have to ask ourselves, we had a disclaimer in 2013, 2014, and 2014, 2015. We had adverse opinions thereafter. There are certain legacy issues that remain unresolved and will remain unresolved because we cannot get the records. Apart from the fact that and we cannot deny the fact that it was poor record management on the part of the municipality. There are issues around the Archives Act, and this applies to other municipalities as well, where the AG is calling for evidence of records of 10 years ago. And many of those are now either archived or destroyed. And so it does present an issue. I think that's one of the areas that perhaps we want to draw the attention of the committee to in terms of the current audit process. Chairperson, as we conclude on these investigations through the management reports, if there are any officials within the municipality that remain in the employ that were responsible at the time or can be identified as responsible through the investigation, then certainly consequence management will be pursued, Chairperson. In fact, I think the colleagues neglected to inform the meeting that 6 finance staff was suspended and some fired as a result of certain irregularities. And so there is some movement towards consequence management. Chairperson, that deals specifically with the area of the financial experts. There are other financial related issues that were previously raised. I'm not sure, with your permission, whether I should respond to some of those that occurred during the morning discussion as well, or we leave it at that. On this other specific issue of whether the intervention will cease or not, Chairperson, as you will appreciate, it will be the Executive Council of the province that will take the final decision. We will also look at the current situation at the municipality. Those will be issues that will be presented before the Executive Council. We will also look at the progress made on the intervention itself in terms of what was the basis of the intervention, and some of these issues have been resolved. Others may still be outstanding or nearing completion. And the question we would ask ourselves, we would have to ask ourselves, is whether this leadership and the administration are in a position now, having stabilized the finances of the municipality to a large extent, capable of proceeding without support. Chairperson, even if the intervention were to end, and I'm not suggesting that it will, even if it were to end, Chairperson, there will still be this kind of intensive support that Cogta has provided. We have provided support in areas of UIFW, and this is particularly around impact support, around the processes, procedures for impact to deal with matters. 45%, there has been a 45% reduction in UIFW, Chairperson. Sorry, a 55% reduction in UIFW. And Chair, some of these reductions relate, some of these are related to investigations which are currently underway. So it's investigating a remaining amount of 248 million from prior years. But we looked at the balance of UIFW of 551 million rand, and 303 million rand of that balance has since been written off. A majority of that, Chairperson, relates to non-compliance. If I may indicate, Chairperson, the major issue here, and it was one that became prevalent across KZN, you would be aware from the general report of the AGSA that KZN was the province with the highest amount of UIFW, partly because we've got 54 out of the total number of municipalities in the country, so one can expect that proportionally we will be higher. However, the majority of that related to the issue of the composition of bid committees. Expenditure was regarded as irregular because the bid committees were not in compliance with Regulation 29 of the SCM regulations, which required 4 senior managers to be appointed across the 3 bid committees. Chairperson, I will indicate that some municipalities in the province did not even have 4 senior managers. And ILM was one of those municipalities that at the time did not have 4 senior managers that could sit on bid committees. Now, that level of non-compliance, we cannot correct retrospectively. We can only correct the composition of the bid committees by reconstituting them, which has been done. And we will then have to deal with the write-off on the basis of the fact that it was a non-compliance issue that doesn't require the recovery of the funding because the projects were delivered and so on. So Chairperson, that is the support on UIFW. Also, impact in terms of capacity has been challenged. You will know, Chairperson, that in the election of councillors and office bearers in a municipality, one starts with the election of the speaker first. That is followed by that of the mayor, the executive committee, which serves as your chairpersons of your portfolio committees, then your members of portfolio committees, and the last group of councillors to be elected were impact. There was also no legislative framework for impacts. And so you find that some councillors really do not have the capacity to exercise oversight over these. It's a matter that we have raised with SALGA. It's a matter that we have raised with DCoG. You will see the amendment to the Municipal Systems Act reflecting now the impact as a Section 80 committee. And those are some of the legislative imperatives that have come forth from our experience in this regard. We have gone so far, Chairperson, as to provide training for MPACs as Cogta on multiple occasions, but we have gotten to a point where we find that even though we may have this type of classroom training, we were not achieving the impact that we would have liked to see. So we are actually literally as Cogta Municipal Finance doing MPAC on the job training. We sit in MPAC meetings on request, and where we find that there are serious UIFW matters, we provide technical guidance and advice in terms of the reports that come to MPAC, in terms of the registers that are presented, and in terms of the investigations that are conducted. We also engage the Auditor General SA on the issue of the investigations. It was expected that the investigations follow almost a forensic type of investigation, but by illustration of the bid committee example that I've just used, you will appreciate that that does not require a level of forensic investigation. We then had to look at the capacity of municipalities to conduct investigations and the costs associated with investigations, and we were able to come up with a UIFW framework in the province after consultation with the AG to categorize different types of UIFW and to be able to address these through the MPAC process and through counciled resolutions. And Chairperson, based on that investigation methodology, based on our provincial UIFW frameworks, we can indicate that across the board, across our 54 municipalities, and based on the unaudited financial statements, 6.5 billion rands in UIFW has been written off by councils. And we will assure you, members, that it is valid. A large portion still, however, remains under investigation. And we are finding that there are delays in investigations due to capacity, and in particular, in this case, due to the lack of documents to finalize the investigations. Chair, I think those are the main issues. As I said, there are comments that I have in respect of the water boards, the water board, the debt, consumer debt, and the unfunded budget, but I will be guided by you, Chairperson, whether I respond to those. Thank you.
No, respond to them as well, once and for all.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, on the issue of the debt to Umgeni Water, and I think SALGA made the point earlier this morning that the water board debt had grown. And I don't think that in respect of Uthukela district in particular, that the issues have been adequately articulated. So we also noted the question around the public protests as a result of water. Chairperson, the Uthukela district sought some technical guidance and support and capacity from Umgeni Water to assist with two major areas. The one was the water losses, and the second was the rehabilitation and expansion of the bulk infrastructure and the water treatment plants. The Ezakeni plant that is run by Uthukela district was running at a capacity of 56 megaliters per day being produced of water. However, that was running beyond the capacity of the actual plant. The plant capacity was 32 megaliters per day. Now, when Uthukela district entered into the agreement with Umgeni Water immediately dropped the output of that plant from this 56 megaliters to 32 megaliters. And that means that communities that were being serviced by that over production now felt the shortage in the water. It's a matter, Chairperson, that is now an intergovernmental dispute, this agreement, and we are mediating this as Cogta. We have had numerous meetings with Umgeni Water. We have had meetings with Uthukela district, and we are reviewing that contract. We will then be in a position to make recommendations to council within the next month regarding this. And that should address the issue of the water